et tu, Brute, then falls Caesar. The Roman Emperor Julius Caesar did not realize while uttering this phrase, as stated in Shakespeare's play, Julius Caesar, that his words would resonate across many generations to come as an indication of betrayal and treachery from kinship. The stab that Caesar received from his close friend was one of the most horrible stabs and the most gruesome of all assassinations ever carried out in history. So what is the story behind that tragedy? In this biographical film, I'll present you the life and times of the famous war emperor Julius Caesar, from his birth until the tragic assassination that brought the curtain down on his life. Julius Caesar was born on the 12th or 13th of July in 100 BC to an ancient aristocratic family. His father Gaius Caesar was a regional ruler in Asia, and his mother Aurelia Cotta belonged to a noble family. When Caesar was 16 years old, his father died suddenly. Caesar soon afterwards sought to get close to the members of the noble class, and indeed he was able to marry the daughter of a nobleman named Cornelia. After tensions grew between Caesar and the ruler of Rome at that time due to his disapproval of the marriage, Caesar was forced to flee Rome and join the army in Asia. After the death of the Roman dictator, Caesar returned to Rome again and began his career in the political field, assuming the position of a public prosecutor. In 74 BC, Mithridates, the sixth king of Pontus, declared war on Rome, so Caesar led an army to fight him, a feat which strengthened his position among the Romans and qualified him to assume a political position, especially after he allied with one of the most prominent leaders, Gnaeus Pompey. Caesar was known to engage in extramarital relationships. The most prominent was his relationship with Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt, from whom he had his son Caesarion. Caesar continued his successful political career serving as the governor of the province of Spain, which was part of the Roman Empire in 61 BC. Thanks to his alliance with Commander Pompey, he was elected as the first consul of the Roman Republic by the Central Assembly in 59 BC. In the same year, he married a girl named Calpurnia, who remained his wife for the rest of his life. Despite his alliance with Pompey, Caesar sought an alliance with the military commander Marcus Licinius Crassus. There was a fierce rivalry between Crassus and Pompey. Nevertheless, Caesar succeeded in convincing them that an alliance was the ideal solution for the both of them rather than hostility. Together, they formed what was known as the First Triumvirate. In addition to his political activity, Caesar sought to expand Rome's influence, so he equipped a large army and succeeded in seizing Gaul. This allowed him to build a larger army to start a series of military campaigns. He invaded 800 cities and subjugated 300 tribes. All of these triumphs strengthened his position in Rome as a brave military leader who did not tolerate his enemies. With his preoccupation to expand his country's influence, Caesar did not ignore the political situation in Rome, so he appointed some political agents to carry out his duties. Caesar's rise through the ranks ignited a dispute between the three leaders, and the return of the differences between Crassus and Pompey. But in the end, they reached an agreement in 56 BC. Pompey would rule Spain for 5 years, Caesar would rule over the areas he controlled for 5 years, and Crassus was also appointed to govern Syria for 5 years as well. However, 3 years later, Crassus was killed in one of the battles in Syria, and disputes flared up again between Caesar and Pompey, with the lust for power being the catalyst. Thus a war broke out between them, which ended in Caesar's victory, while Pompey fled to Egypt, where he was killed in 48 BC, and thus Julius Caesar came to power and ruled Rome. While he was in Egypt tracking Pompey, Caesar had a relationship with Cleopatra and made an alliance with her, as she was at odds with her brother Ptolemy XIII over the monarchy. Caesar helped her to overthrow her brother and take over the throne of Egypt, then returned to his country to declare himself as the absolute ruler of Rome. Julius Caesar reformed a lot of aspects of the political life in the Roman Empire. He sought to pay off his country's debts, reformed the Senate, changed the Roman calendar to be compatible with the movement of the sun instead of the moon, and reorganized the local government, inviting his defeated rivals to join him in the government. While these political reforms have strengthened Caesar's position and increased his popularity among the middle and lower classes, they provoked the hatred of his political rivals in the Roman Senate, and they became increasingly concerned about his growing power and his absolute rule of Rome, so they decided to put an end to his ambition by getting rid of him. Julius Caesar did not imagine even in his worst nightmares that his assassination would be led by his closest friend, Marcus Junius Brutus. He allied with Caesar's enemies and invited Caesar to attend the Senate meeting in Pompey's theater. Despite the warnings that Caesar received about a conspiracy targeting him, he decided to attend as Brutus convinced him that the Senate would be annoyed if he did not attend the meeting. On March 15, 44 BC, Caesar's life ended. When he arrived at the Senate, everyone stabbed him. And despite the death that was approaching him quickly, Caesar did not fall, and thought that hope came to him from afar, when he saw his close friend Brutus coming towards him. He walked towards his friend covered with his blood, thinking that he had come to save him, but he was surprised by his friend raising his weapon to stab him in turn. Caesar's eyes widened in astonishment, shouting, "Even you, Brutus?" And Caesar fell dead after 23 stabs. The Roman people received the news of Julius Caesar's death with great shock, and the people went out to farewell Caesar to his final resting place, and the angry crowd attacked the homes of the conspirators. Thus the curtain closed on one of the most famous Roman emperors throughout history.